I raise a hallelujah in the presence of my enemies. I raise a hallelujah louder than the unbelief. I raise a hallelujah. My weapon is a melody. I raise a hallelujah. Heaven comes to fight for me.
I'm gonna sing in the middle of the storm, louder and louder. You're gonna hear my praises roar. Up from the ashes, hope will arise. Death is defeated, the King is
I raise a hallelujah with everything inside of me. I raise a hallelujah. I will watch the darkness flee. I raise a hallelujah in the middle of the mystery. I raise a hallelujah. Fear, you lost your hold on me.
I'm gonna sing in the middle of the storm, louder and louder. You're gonna hear my praises roar. Up from the ashes, hope will arise. Death is defeated, the King is alive.
Sing a little louder.
Sing a little louder,
Sing a little louder.
sing a little louder,
Sing a little louder.
sing a little louder.
Let's sing a little louder.
Let's sing a little louder.
Sing a little louder.
In the presence of my enemies,
Sing a little louder.
louder than the unbelief.
Sing a little louder.
My weapon is a melody.
Sing a little louder.
Heaven comes to fight for me. Hey,
Sing a little louder.
in the presence of
morning now, church. I hope you are having a fantastic day so far. I'm so thankful for the sunshine, this week. It has been absolutely fantastic to just have the little things whilst we are stuck in our houses, probably bored stiff, not really doing much of anything apart from snacking. I've probably put about so much weight on. I'll struggle to get through the now church doors by the time we're out of lockdown, but I am thankful that we can sit out in our garden and enjoy the sunshine. I am so glad that you've joined us this morning. If it's your first time, then you are super welcome. This is Now Church Online, and if you are a regular attender, I just want to say you are still so welcome. And I'd like you to share this with your family, with your friends, share it on your social media page for people that don't come to church or don't know Jesus, so they have the opportunity to join us on this beautiful Sunday morning. I hope it's sunny, because if it's not, but I just want you to share this video out. So in a second we have got Pete Elliott, who is a member of our church, and he's going to share an amazing testimony of how God answers prayer, and I know you will love this video.
Good morning everyone. I just want to share something pretty exciting that's been happening. A guy named Andy Horbury, who is 40-year-old, he came into the drop-in and street church held at St John's, which is there for people who've got either homeless or drug addiction problems. He was a drug addict, and he came through that. He went on Christian rehab and got completely clear. And 5 years later, at the beginning of this year, he was involved in a really bad road accident. We think it was a hit and run driver, but nobody knows quite what happened. But he was found unconscious, lying by the roadside, and he was air ambulanced from Berwick-on-Tweed to Newcastle for treatment. His parents, when they went to see the medics, they were told, be prepared to possibly lose your son as a result of head injuries, a brain bleed, 4 broken ribs, punctured lungs, 9 tubes going into his body, and a broken clavicle. They didn't give him much hope, basically. So parents asked for people to pray, and people have been praying. And Andy was moved between 3 different hospitals, and in each one, amazingly, there were Christian nurses who came to his bedside and prayed over him. So that was quite something. And the medics, as I say, hadn't given him much hope, but he has been making a great recovery. And this week, it'll be last Thursday now by the time you see this, he will have gone home to be with his parents. His sight, which was badly affected, has now been restored, and the doctors just say, well, this is just a miracle. There's no other way to explain it. So quite an amazing thing. Not only that, but his parents, who weren't Christians, both now are, and his mum spends most of the day talking to God and enjoying him. And when he's recovered properly, all 3 of them are going to start coming to Now Church. So how amazing is that? This is Andy, and he'd like to thank everybody that's prayed for him. Thank you, everyone.
Hi guys, I just wanted to send this big thank you for praying for my sister last week. She had the consultant meeting, and there is a variety of stuff wrong with her back that they can't actually treat until after coronavirus and the lockdown completes. But she was experiencing a lot less pain after everyone's prayers, and she was actually able to go out last weekend for the first time in over 4 weeks. So that was really, really good progress. She's suffering a bit again now, so please keep up the praying. But thank you so much, and just wanted to give that praise report.
Oh, so what an amazing testimony. I am so glad that God answers prayer, and I'm so thankful that we can come together as a church and pray for those who need it. And as a result of that, God works miracles that cannot be explained by anyone else apart from it is a miracle. And I'm just so thankful for those this morning. Romans 8:28 says all things work together for good for those who love God. And I'm so thankful that we have a God who's just so loving, and is just so gracious that he will just work every little bad bit that we experience in our lives and work it for something that is truly the best. You know, on our Now Church social media this week, we had a quote from Christine Kane, and it said, "No promise is too hard for God to keep. No prayer is too difficult for God to answer. No problem is too complex for God to solve. No mountain is too big for God to move, and no need is too great for God to meet." And I think that's just so amazing that God can turn an awful situation, absolutely awful, into the best yet. And it will happen for you, it's happened to me, it's happened to P, it's happened to everyone in our church. And now we're going to watch another video, another announcement of some lovely people in our church, Dan and Kirsty, and they're wanting to share some news with us.
Hi everyone, we hope you're keeping well during this unusual time, and we thought we'd just bring a short little video to share a little bit of exciting news we have to you.
We're really excited because we're starting a family and our baby is going to be joining us in late October.
As you can imagine, we're really excited and we're really thrilled to share this news with you, and we didn't expect we'd end up doing it over a video like this. But I'm sure, given the circumstances, even so, you'll keep us in your thoughts and prayers moving forward as we go through the process of becoming parents, as Kirsty goes through the process of being pregnant, and I get to go through the process of Kirsty being pregnant. But we're really excited and we can't wait to see you all again soon. Bye!
Bye!
So I'm just going to pray now, and I want you to pray this prayer with me. So God, I just thank you that you are a miracle worker. I thank you that you just work everything for good. I thank you that no matter what situation we are in, that you are still in control and you can solve and fix that situation. I pray for the prayer and praise requests that we get either this week or people that have prayed in the past, and I just pray that you answer those prayers and that we can celebrate together as a church for when those prayers get answered and we can see the miracles that you are working behind the scenes. And I just pray this morning that we have open ears and open hearts for the message that's going to get said this morning. I pray that we just listen to exactly what you have to say, and that we get encouraged that no matter what situation we're in, whether we're in isolation or not, we can still outdo everything that you are wanting to do within us, Lord. Amen.
Hey, well, good morning and welcome to Now Church. It is so good to be able to share with you a little bit of God's Word again. I'm really glad that you're here. We are certainly living in a different time to how any of us would ever have expected it. Things are different. Coronavirus has made a big difference to our world, and I'm sure to each of your lives individually. I never thought I'd be kind of doing church this way. I never thought we'd be homeschooling children. I never thought like you can just nip out whenever you wanted to. Things are certainly different, but I think different can be good and different is good. And as Christians, as people that believe in God, you know, we're called to be different. We are different, actually, and we should be different. And during this season, you know what, we face the same worries, the same fears, the same anxiety as other people. We face the same restrictions as other people, but we can control how we respond to those things. And as Christians, our response should be different because we are different. Life is different for us for many reasons. And I want to look at just a few things today on how we respond differently, how we are different to the world. And so we'll look at 4 different things, how we're different, and then the reasons why we're different. And it's so important to know the reasons, but to know the person behind the reasons as well. And I hope and I pray and I believe that God will speak to you today as we do this. And I love, the verse in 2 Corinthians 5 verse 7. It says, "For we live by faith and not by sight." And that's a difference, isn't it? You know, as Christians, we live by faith and not by sight. We have a different lens to the world. We see things differently. I wear contact lenses or glasses, and so in the morning before I put my contact lenses in, I kind of like have to move around to the bathroom. I can't really see, and it was a great excuse when I was when we had smaller children who would always get up in the middle of the night, because without kind of contacts in, I couldn't see where I was going. And but when I put my contacts in the morning, it makes an amazing difference to how I see. And you know, I'm sure loads of you wear glasses too, and you can understand the difference that your glasses make. My oldest daughter, she had her, test at school where they test her eyesight, and then we got this referral letter saying she needs to go to the hospital. So I took her off to the hospital to get her eyes checked, and they said, yeah, she needs glasses. So then I, took her to Specsavers, and we got her these glasses. Anyway, she did not get on with them. She did not like them. She hated wearing them. She would complain all the time, and I was there just thinking, it's just her whinging, it's just her moaning because she doesn't like wearing them. And she was saying, no, they don't help me see. And I was like, Caris, it's because you're not used to wearing them. You need to keep sticking at it. You need to, persevere here. And so there was many arguments, and she didn't like wearing them, and we'd force her to wear them. Anyway, it was time for her next appointment. And so we took her off, and then, they looked at her eyes and inspected her eyes again, and they said this prescription is completely wrong for her eyes. And I was like, what? And they were like, yeah, this is the wrong prescription. She doesn't need these glasses. She needs a new prescription. And all this time I've been forcing her to wear these glasses, saying it will make a difference, but they were the wrong lens. And so eventually she did get her new glasses, and now she wears them all the time because they help her to see. But the old lenses didn't help her to see. And, what lens do we look through? Actually, we need to look through a lens of faith. We don't see things the way that the world sees things. We see things differently because we are different. We have a different perspective on life. John 14, verse 27, Jesus says to his disciples, peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid. We live differently to how the world lives. We live by faith and not by sight. Our lens needs to be different because we see through a lens of faith. We know that God is enough. And I want to say just a few things that God is. We know that God is faithful. As Christians, we believe in the truth of the Bible, and we believe the truth of our experience as well. And we know that God is faithful, even when we don't have enough faith, even then when we kind of aren't faithful to God. We know that He is always faithful to us. He hasn't left us. He hasn't abandoned us. He never has, and He never will. And it's true during this season as well. You know what? The world might look bleak. You might not have a job at the moment. You might not have enough finance coming in at the moment. Your health might be bleak. Other people in your family's health might not be good. But we know that God is faithful. He is always faithful. We know that our God is good. He is a good God. Even when the world around us is bad, even when things don't seem good, we say that God is good. He is a good God. He is good in your life. He is good. We know that our God will not leave us. He is always with us. He never ever leaves you. He's with you now. He's with you in your darkest moments. He's with you when you're on top of the world. Our God is a good God, and He does not leave us. He wants to grab you by the hand, and He wants to walk with you during this season. He won't leave you. And we know that our God is working in all things. We know that actually in this season He's working in us. He's working through us, and He will use this for good, because we know that our God works in all things when we see things differently. Our lens is different because we live by faith and not by sight. We should view things differently. Another thing that we're different in, we're different to the world, we should be different to the world, is in we are sacrificial, not selfish. And I think coronavirus really does show people's priorities and motives very well. Much, we might not like to see that in ourselves, but I think it does show our priorities. In Philippians 2, verses 3-4, it says this: "Do not do anything out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of others." I think this is completely countercultural to what we do, to what we want to do, to what our flesh wants to do. You know what? We don't want to look to the interests of others before ourselves. It's okay and honourable and admirable, and we'd say, yes, it's good to look after people, but you need to put yourself first. I'll give away an extra tin of beans. I'll give away an extra loo roll, but not my only loo roll. But actually what Jesus asks us to do is to put others first. Value others above yourselves. And I think that's completely kind of countercultural to what we're taught, to how we live our lives. We only have to look around and we see others, and so often we see it in others, but we probably don't see it in ourselves as well. We see others rushing to the supermarkets, buying up all of the things, buying up all of the flour, buying up all of the milk, and we think, well, they're just being selfish. They're stockpiling. I have a member of our family, and they were booking lots of slots online for their home delivery shopping, which is fine to do. It's good to do, to book your slots online for your shopping. But they were booking one as many as they can get, and they didn't really need the stuff, but they didn't know if they would need the stuff. And so they would just fill up their shopping trolley with expensive items that they didn't really need, with the plan that they would then go back later, edit them, and kind of put the items that they might need, but at that point. The problem is they were booking so many different slots with so many different supermarkets that they lost track of what they were doing, and they were booking them for themselves, and they were booking them to other people's addresses, so the hope that they would change, and they lost track. And so in the end, they just got all these random deliveries of stuff that they didn't need because they were just being selfish. And we're called to be sacrificial. We're not called to be selfish. We're called to look after others first, to prefer one another above ourselves. And that's completely different to the way that the world lives. Don't do anything out of selfish ambition, but rather value others before yourselves. And I think to really kind of get this, we have to see what God has done for us. You see, God is sacrificial. He is not a greedy God. He does not stockpile things that he doesn't need. He's not a selfish God, and we need to know that God made the biggest sacrifice. Jesus came and he gave his life. He died on the cross, this sinless, this spotless, this perfect one, died for you. He died for me to make a way so that we may truly know what it is to live. And he did that knowing that we would still mess up, that we'd still sin. He did that knowing that many of us would never even turn to him. What a sacrifice. And when we kind of get a grip on what God has done for us, when we realise how God has sacrificed for us, it helps us to see that our sacrifice isn't such a big thing. We need to know that as well as having this God who made the biggest sacrifice, actually we have a God that will always provide enough. He will provide enough. You will not go without, because he is your Father. He is a good God, as we've already said. He will provide enough. And we know that our God wants us to store up treasures in heaven and not on earth. This place is just our temporary existence, but we get to live with God forever. And it is better to store up things there than it is here on earth. And what we do here on earth will make a difference to our eternity. And I'd rather be storing up treasures in heaven than I would on earth. And we also know that our God is a God that blesses those who blesses others. You know, we're blessed to be a blessing. We're not blessed to be selfish. We're not blessed so that we can have rooms and rooms of things that we don't need when there's people out there with nothing. Actually, we're blessed to be a blessing. We're blessed to help others. And we can do that because actually as Christians, we need to be different. We need to be people who are sacrificial and not selfish. Hey, third thing, we shine light instead of hiding it. Matthew 5:14-16, it says this: "You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither does anyone light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." Now, do we really know the God that we hold? Do we really get how He is the answer? How He can really help people? I think sometimes we don't see that ourselves. We don't see the power that we have in our hands. We don't really know the God who knows us and the God who is in us. Because if we constantly knew that, if we were really aware of who God is, then we wouldn't be able to keep that light in. But now is a time to let that light shine, to let others see this God. There is a world that is in need of hope and is looking for hope. And you and I have that hope. But when we give it, it doesn't leave us. Actually, it grows in us. And we've got a little clip here from Lawson and Ellie, and I love what they've been doing in their village, sharing that hope. And so let's listen to Lawson and Ellie.
Hi everyone, this is Lawson and Ellie from our home village. Marcus has asked us to share a little bit of what's been happening here in our village since the lockdown. We noticed at the beginning of lockdown, the Reverend Pat Allerton from London was invited by one of his congregation to do a little street service on one of their streets in London with a loudspeaker and a microphone, and to which he did, and they sang Amazing Grace, and he gave a little word, and I believe they said the Lord's Prayer, and people came out, was looking out of their windows and standing on their streets, and we just looked at each other and we thought, why can't we do this where we live?
It was so inspiring. It really was inspiring, and the video of Pat Allerton, it went viral. It was just amazing and so inspiring.
And so at the most we've had 22 of our neighbours coming out into their gardens. We're not gathering, just into their gardens or standing at the street, at the bottom of the street, and all taking part in this little mini service, singing Amazing Grace, praying the Lord's Prayer. Lawson has shared a little word.
And also, obviously, we're praying very much for the coronavirus situation, not only locally for our village, but also nationally and globally as well.
And so we are just very encouraged. Everybody who's taken part have asked us to continue doing it every week. They say, yes, please do it again. So as long as that continues, and we're praying that it will, we are continuing. So we'd appreciate your prayers and be encouraged at this time that it's a time of new beginnings.
It is a time of new beginnings, and just so excited about what God's doing in our village, in what we now call Street Church.
Yes.
Yes.
Affectionately known.
But we are looking forward to seeing you guys all again in the flesh, so to speak, in the near future. So stay safe, everybody. God bless. Bye.
So we shine light instead of hiding it. We're different. We don't hide what we have. We shine it out because we know that our God gives hope. We know that our God is the answer. We know that our God's purposes on earth are too important, and we know that our God is needed now. Our mission cannot stop. It's too important. People need to know Jesus. They need to have this life that God gives revealed to them. They need to be set free from things that hold them back, and our God can do that. Our message is too important to just hide it away. We shine light, we don't hide it. And our fourth thing that's different about us is that we look at God and not at our fears. 2 Corinthians 12 verse 9 says, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." You know, every weakness that we have, it gives us an opportunity to experience God's strength and His presence. When we give Him our fears, He gives us His strength. It's natural to have fears and anxiety at this time. You know, more people than ever are losing sleep, not being able to sleep. There's worry, there's fear that's gripping the nation. But I want to tell you that God is bigger. And we need to learn to look at Him rather than looking at the fears. You know, I'm not going to tell you that it's a sin to have these fears, to have this worry. But what I want to do is point you to someone who is bigger than those. Caris has been learning to ride her bike, my daughter, and she's not that good, if I'm honest, at it. And here's the problem, even though she's still got stabilizers at the moment, whenever she gets on her bike, she looks down at her feet, she looks down at the road, and she wants to go as slow as possible for fear of falling off. And I've tried to explain to her, Caris, you need to look ahead and you need to go faster. It'll help you balance. And sometimes, you know, we're like that with our walk with God, or when fears come, we just look down and we just concentrate on the fears, and we just can only see them. And God said, look up, run to me, because actually that's what will keep you going. That's what will give you stability. That's what will kind of help you. Not looking down at your fears, but looking at God, looking at someone that won't leave you, that won't let you down. Because I want to tell you that we know that our God gives strength. When we are weak, our God gives strength. We know that our God is a firm foundation when the world seems unstable. Our God is firm. We know that our God is hope. When we are anxious and afraid, our God is hope. Our hope shouldn't be in the economy. Our hope shouldn't be in our health, but our hope is in God, the Creator. He is the beginning and the end, and our hope is in Him. We know that our God is near. When you are hurting, when you are alone, when you are isolated, our God is near. He is close to you, and we know that our God is always good. Even when we mess up, even when we turn our back on Him, even when we fail, even when we sin, our God is always good. We are different. We can be different, but does the world see the difference in us during this time? I want to tell you that God wants to make that difference in you. And we don't become different by pursuing being different. Actually, we'll become different when we pursue Christ, when we draw closer to Him, when we let Him transform you. That's what will make the lasting difference. Hey, I want to pray for you. I want to pray that actually we would be able to stand up and to be different, that we would see things differently, that we would act differently, that we would respond differently. And maybe this week, if you want to be different, then you can pray this prayer with me. God, I pray that we would be different this week. We would know that you are a different God, that you do things differently, that you lived on earth differently, and that you rule differently, Lord. And we want to be different. We want to see differently to how the world sees. We want to act differently. We want to think differently. We want to respond differently. We want to have different thoughts, different feelings, Lord, because we know you. And I pray that we would draw close to you this week. I pray that you would draw close to us as we draw close to you, so that we may be transformed by you. I pray and I ask. Amen. Amen. Hey, we want to keep praying that for you and over you this week. We love you. We're praying for you. We're thinking of you, and we want to thank you so much for being here today.
So what an amazing morning we've had this morning. I am so thankful, and we are so blessed that we have the freedom and the technology to still meet every Sunday morning. And I'm so thankful that we get to still be together as a church, physically or otherwise. So we're going to take our offering now, and you can do this by the Church Street app or by standing order. If you're a first time guest, you're under no obligation to give, but if you are a regular attender of our church, I do recommend that you do contribute this morning, just so that we can keep supporting people in our community, we can keep supporting the charities that we support, and it helps us build God's house. So if you want any more information about Now Church, or you want to send us your prayer or praise requests, then you can email us at hello@nowchurch.org.uk or contact us through Facebook. So I'm going to pray now, and I encourage you to pray with me with this prayer. So God, I just thank you for a fantastic morning that we've had this morning. I thank you for the key workers that are still going out, keeping this country running and keeping us safe. And I just thank you that you are a miracle worker. And I am so thankful in advance for what you are going to do in people's lives. I just thank you for the rest of the day and for a great day we're going to have. Amen. So I hope you've enjoyed this morning, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Come, let us worship our King. Come, let us bow at his feet. He has done great things. See what our Savior has done. See how his love overcomes. He has done great things. He has done great things. Oh, hero of heaven, you conquered the grave. You free every captive and break every chain. Oh God, you have done great things. We dance in your freedom, awakened to life. Oh Jesus, our Savior, your name lifted high. Oh God, you have done great things. You've been faithful through every storm. You'll be faithful forevermore. You have done great things, and I know you will do it again. For your promise is yes and amen. You will do great things. God, you do great things. Oh, hero of heaven, you conquered the grave. You free every captive and break every chain. Oh God, you have done great things. We dance in your freedom, awakened to life. Oh Jesus, our Savior, your name lifted high. Oh God, you have done great things. Hallelujah, God, above it all. Hallelujah, God, unshakable. Hallelujah, you have done great things. Hallelujah, God, above it all. Hallelujah, God, unshakable. Hallelujah, you have done great things. You've done great things. Oh, hero of heaven, you conquer the grave. You free every captive and break every chain.